Every great epic faces the same challenge. How do you go from just a small group of characters to a world-spanning war without completely losing your audience? Well, today we're diving into how the legendary story of Naruto pulled it off, building its massive universe one brilliant layer at a time. And really, this is the core question for any long-running series, right? How do you expand the world, throw dozens of new faces at us, and raise the stakes from little personal squabbles to a literal world war, all while keeping us hooked? It's such a tricky balancing act, and honestly, the way Naruto does it is a total masterclass. So, here's how we're gonna break it down. We're gonna trace this growth using what I like to call the ripple effect. We'll start with that first pebble in the pond, the core of Team 7. Then we'll see how the ripples expand outward, first through a legendary separation, then by introducing a whole world of new rivals and allies, until finally the entire world gets pulled into the conflict. Okay, let's dive in. Every huge story needs a solid anchor, and for Naruto, it all, and I mean all, begins right here with Team 7. The narrative is super deliberate about keeping the focus incredibly tight on this small group, and that's because it's forging the emotional bedrock for everything that's going to happen later. At the start, the world of the story is kept intentionally small, and it's pretty much all defined by the classic dynamic between these four. You've got the passionate, hyperactive outcast in Naruto. You've got the cool, gifted rival in Sasuke. You've got the more grounded, calmer heart of the team in Sakura. And of course, their mysterious teacher, Kakashi. This isn't just a simple introduction. It's like a narrative pressure cooker. By forcing these clashing personalities together, the story builds this incredibly intense bond that becomes the emotional anchor for the entire series. So once that foundation is set, the story does something that feels kind of weird at first, but is absolutely brilliant from a storytelling perspective. It shatters the core team. This separation isn't just for drama, it's a strategy. It's maybe the single most important move the story makes to force each character to grow on their own, and in doing so, expand the world for us, the audience. And the tool they use for this big expansion? The Sannin. Now, these guys aren't just some powerful new characters dropped in for fun. They are narrative catalysts. These three legendary figures are brought in specifically to take our heroes under their wings and to push each one of them down a very different and often conflicting path. And just look at how deliberate these pairings are. It's perfect. Naruto, who's always seeking recognition, gets mentored by Jiraiya, a big-hearted hermit who totally gets the burden of power. Sakura, who wants to be useful and strong, trains under Tsunade, the world's absolute best medical ninja. And most critically, Sasuke, who's just hungry for power no matter the cost, is lured away by Orochimaru, a terrifying genius who is the living embodiment of forbidden knowledge. Each mentored represents a totally different future for their student, and this sets up three conflicting ideologies that are going to drive the plot for years to come. All right, so with our main trio now off on their separate journeys, the world can finally, truly begin to open up. This is where that first ripple really starts to widen, and the cast of characters just explodes, adding all these new layers of complexity and connection. And this split creates the space for a whole flood of new faces. And these are not just background characters, okay? We get rivals like Gaara and Rock Lee, who are basically dark mirrors or ideological opposites to our heroes. They force Naruto and the others to really question their own methods. And at the same time, we get allies like the brilliant strategist Shikamaru and the super loyal Hinata, who build out this amazing support system. It proves that strength isn't just about how hard you can punch. This network is what makes the world start to feel really alive and interconnected. But as the circle of friends gets wider, the shadow of the enemy gets a whole lot longer. The Akatsuki are introduced as this obscure but terrifyingly powerful organization of rogue ninjas, and their arrival immediately cranks the stakes up, from personal rivalries to a fight against a mysterious, globe-spanning threat. Now, the real genius of the Akatsuki is that it's not just one single villain. It's like an entire ecosystem of threats. Each member is a different kind of danger and a whole major story arc unto themselves. You've got Itachi, who is a deeply, deeply personal enemy for Sasuke. You have Pain, a philosophical antagonist who challenges Naruto's entire worldview. You have guys like Deidara, who are just chaotic forces of destruction. And then, looming behind them all, you have the historical ghost of Madara.
This structure lets the story sustain this feeling of an overwhelming, multifaceted danger for years on end. It's brilliant.
So, this brings us to the final massive ripple. All those personal struggles, all the rivalries, the looming threat of the Akatsuki, it all comes to a head and expands outward until it completely swallows the entire world of the story. That final ripple is the Fourth Great Ninja War. It's this huge, cataclysmic event that pulls every single thread we've been following together. Every character we've met, every rival, every ally, every single village is thrown into one massive, desperate conflict. This is the ultimate payoff, where all of that careful world building and character development finally and violently collides. And check this out, because here's a really brilliant narrative trick. The story doesn't just show us the war, it uses the war to reveal the world's entire history. Through some really clever devices like flashbacks and even necromancy. I mean, literally reanimating historical figures to have them tell their own stories. We get to learn about how the villages were founded and the ancient grudges that started everything. The war itself becomes a history lesson, which gives the whole conflict this incredible weight. So this whole journey from a small team to a world at war, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. The story started with a boy named Naruto, but it ends with nations, with history, with the intertwined fates of an entire world. So when a story gets this big, who's the real protagonist? Is it still the individual we started with, or does the world itself become the main character? It's a great thought to chew on. Thanks for watching The Explainer.